From?
My mother.
Oh. You don't like telling people where you from?
I just don't see the significance behind it. What's gonna change if you know where I'm from?
Because we want to claim
It's
you. If you're
gonna
Haitian,
claim you.
I would love to know that major
And that's the problem. That's exactly why I don't tell people.
It's gonna be
Because
American.
it's favoritism.
That makes sense.
My ultimate goal, because when I first started doing comedy, or even when I was growing up in Brooklyn, there was a segregation between Caribbean people. Haitians chill with Haitians, Jamaicans is with Jamaicans, Trinis is with Trinis. And I didn't like that because I feel like strength is in numbers and numbers is power. So if we all come together as a demographic instead of one people or one nation, we got more people to represent. Now we got the Caribbean Music Awards. Now we got people like Marshall and people from St. Vincent like Skinny Fabulous doing songs together. You got all of these things happening together. They ain't gonna say that it was because of me, but you know, I've been hashtagging One Caribbean for a long time.
I love that.
I like that.
Now I will never be your hater, I'm your biggest fan. I hope it falls into place just how you planned it. Life could put you in a pickle, just make sure it's kosher. Lean on me like Bill Withers until you smell the roses.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscribe or die trying. You see the thumbnail, you saw the clip, you see the link. Fresh, it's our turn, baby. We got to talk about this tribalism aspect in the diaspora, right? And the reason it's so that I think we need to discuss it is because, like, Tariq Nasheed been bringing it up for a while, and it was brought up prior to that also in the Pan-Africanism. But when you hear somebody from the Caribbean saying, "Hey, man, the reason I don't bring up where I'm from is because we were segregated." Now, he said he grew up in New York, in Brooklyn, right? Brooklyn, okay. But he grew up there, and Haitians hung with the Haitians, the Jamaicans hung with the Jamaicans, you know, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when they're dealing with people who have a similar experience in the Caribbean when they get to America. So the issue is, you know, the black diaspora, our unity problem comes from tribalism, or our lack of unity comes from tribalism. And it's been said, you know, like people like us, FBA, ADOS, however you want to call it, right? Black Americans, we don't have that issue. You know, and the interesting thing is, the argument was made that, you know, slavery kind of took the tribalism argument away from us. But the people in the Caribbean, that's a whole nother story. And I was like, what could make this an issue like that? What could make the, you know, I'm just this and I don't interact with y'all? Because everybody's quite similar. People have similar things going on. They're not the same, they're similar, right? And I thought about it. I said, well, the difference with America and the Caribbean is is one landmass for the most part. Like Africa. So the tribalism in Africa is one landmass. And you're like, well, okay, it's one landmass in America and we don't have this tribalism. And there's another landmass in Africa and they have this tribalism. What's the difference? And it dawned on me, family. Family. You know, our families move. Our families can be everywhere in the United States of America. There was a time where you sent people to their family. And that made you, you know, more aware of what's going on in a different part of the United States of America. And it was a different culture from where you were from, but you can blend in because, oh, okay, you know, we're all black, you know. So a person like me who was born in the South, I have family in the East Coast, on the East Coast and in the Midwest. They're still on the East Coast and in the Midwest. But so I would go to the East Coast and the Midwest. And then when I was in the Midwest, I would come back to the Midwest or the East Coast, I would come back to the South. So, and then in between, you know, people have life experiences. So you wind up touching different cities, hopefully. You know, I don't think we do that as much anymore. But you go through different cities and you see, okay, it's a different culture. It's a different vibe. They do different things. Like, even in the Midwest, right? Chicago culture is different from Indianapolis culture, which is different from Cleveland culture, which is different from Cincinnati culture, which is different from, I think I said Minneapolis. No, I said Indianapolis. Different from Minneapolis. You get what I mean? Different from Detroit, for sure. That's not a diss, I'm just saying. Different from Flint, Grand Rapids, in some ways you can lump in like Omaha, Nebraska, because it's like heartland kind of thing. It's different from that. Different from Kansas City, different from the other Kansas City, different from St. Louis. It's a whole different ball game. It's similar, but it's different. And because of the travel, I don't think we had this issue where we'll roast people from different places for sure. Like I got like the minute I never forget when I went to when I was on the west side of Chicago when I was young, I had a heavy New Orleans accent. So they like, where are you from? So, but the difference because of traveling and moving around made it cool because they're like, okay, all right, he from somewhere else, Jack. So it was cool. It was the girls thought it was cute. The guys thought it was cool. But it was a personality thing because I had lived in different places before. I couldn't hear my accent. I could just speak. You get what I'm saying? So when people saw you from a different place, they immediately, because some of y'all might go, what about tribalism with the gangs? Why is it always got to be? Y'all go to criminal culture as if like our whole culture is criminal culture. That's a minority of our culture. But I know somebody might just decide to make their comment, so I just had to throw that in there arbitrarily out of the blue, right? But because of that, I could even say with that, people might hear your voice and hear where you're from and go, oh, you're not from around here. Oh, all right. People got a pass even by the street element, like, oh, this person don't know what's going on out here. And then people will tell them, like, yo, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, and don't do that. You should be good after that. So, and if you ever watch Eddie Griffin, the comedian, who's from Kansas City, he talks about the story when he went to L.A. and he was living with like his cousin or something like that. And he walked out the house with like a all red or all red outfit on. And they was like, what you doing all that dead? And he's like, what? What you doing with all that dead on? All that what? You mean red? He's like, yeah. And he's like, and they was like, oh, you ain't from around here, are you? Like, no, I'm from Kansas City. He said, no, you can't wear that in this neighborhood. Because he was in a Crip neighborhood. And then he went back to his cousin like, why you didn't tell me nothing? Oh, my bad. But food culture, like you wind up realizing that, people's families migrate and parts of the culture migrate with them. So even in America, the jazz culture really started in New Orleans. And then it's in Oakland. It's in New York. You get what I'm saying? A little bit in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, but not so much. But the food, that quote unquote Creole food, is Creole food in New Orleans, Cajun if you're white, Creole if you're black. That's how it go, right? Very similar to food in South Carolina. Because we move around, right? And, people do different things. The food is the church experience. How can I say this? And you wind up with a taste of home in every city you go to because somebody from your city tries to bring that city to the other city. Sometimes they get it right. Most times they get it wrong because it's hard to duplicate a culture of a different place in a different area if you're far removed, right? But some people who true to it, they get it really right. But the reason I bring that up is because, like the brother was talking about the tribalism with the Caribbean, this is what we see as Black Americans from the outside looking in. Because I would say you guys are starting to come together. And same thing with Africa, starting to come together. And when y'all come together completely, y'all are going to realize y'all actually been at odds with Black Americans just because y'all were tribal. really not much to do with us. And I get it because of the competition factor. Because when you're in America, America's a competitive place, but a lot of Black Americans don't think about competing with Africa or competing with the Caribbean, or even competing with blacks in the UK, because we're overdosed on competition here. So we don't think about beating the next man over there because the competition is so thick here. It doesn't dawn on us that, it doesn't dawn on us that there are people who might set the bar in a different place. Because a lot of times people come here because we set the bar here. And so from my understanding, sometimes people have a resentment towards that. But it's nothing we do on purpose. But because we're competing with each other, like, we used to compete with each other, sports, academically, all kinds of stuff. Like, this is how we do it in this city. This is how we do it in that city. This is how we do it on this coast. This is how we do it on that coast. And we would try to show each other up. So for us, it's just like, trying to be the best in the United States is a big enough task. We don't even bring on the rest of the world. But that brings us together because we got to interact with each other, whether it's family or competition. So we know each other better. And we get to know each other quicker. So I'm going to leave it at that. You tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe, or die trying. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace. You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm going to tell you that.